Can we try just a little bit the allegro molto at the beginning and 2 places at the end, then we run to the whole scene.
His name is Christian Badea, and in 24 hours he will conduct his first performance as music director of the Columbus Symphony Orchestra.
Once more, please. It needs to be tighter. Great.
He's only 35 years old, but Badea's meteoric rise in the music world is capturing the city's attention. For the first time in many years, the opulent Ohio Theater will be sold out for a symphony concert.
Don't exaggerate this crescendo. Reserve yourself for the end, because right here we need to hear ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, the triplets and the strings. So I would say for you crescendo to forte, mezzo forte to forte, in these 2 bars, and then pa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa, fortissimo.
These are tense final moments of preparation. There is much to do and little time.
In the rehearsals, we are trying to achieve as much precision, as much of this cohesion. We try to think and play and perform the same way. And I try to be very detailed and very technical, because that's very important. It saves time also. The work of the conductor is a multi-layered work. In other words, one conducts, one listens to the orchestra, one is aware of the time that is remaining, or the time for rehearsal, and decides which things cannot go by and which things will be repaired by the players themselves. There are many, many facets of the work, and they all happen at the same time. So it's a very complex work. Plus, it's rather physical, because it's a language of the hands and of the body, which transmit a lot of things which the words can't do or should not do to the orchestra. Viola, especially the outside, the first ones who played 3 bars after 4 was a bit too soft. Timpani, 2 bars after number 7, too loud. Your dynamic is the dynamic of the trumpets before. Again, cello and basses. Well, I'm very demanding and I'm a perfectionist, but at the same time, I'm very aware and very realistic of what's possible at a given moment. That doesn't mean I'm not aware of my long-range goal and I lose my goal, even if for the time being, let's say, I have to deal with a situation which cannot be very much changed in the ways I would like to. You cannot just turn around and say, okay, now we want the Philadelphia Orchestra or the Chicago Symphony. That is not possible. There are very few like that, by the way, and it takes a long time to build an orchestra of that kind of quality. But I never lose from sight the ultimate goal, which is trying to put together a performance that is the best that can possibly be. Just a bit longer, just a little bit longer. It gets too... I can't.
subdivision is there, so you can pull back a lot.
Badea is no stranger to Columbus. In January, he appeared as guest conductor of the symphony, and that performance was instrumental in his appointment as music director.
A guest conductor and a music director are not exactly the same thing. A guest conductor comes into town and tries to get the best of the potential of the orchestra and make a good concert. A music director has to see the whole picture, and of course, in order to work with an orchestra and build an orchestra and have a certain impact on the community, and after all, this is the Columbus Orchestra, so it's not my orchestra primarily, it's the orchestra of the community. In order to have an impact, in order to work together with the community, one has to know that community. So I make a point of getting to know people.
Okay, can we be less careful than we have been so far? Let's just try. Just for a few bars, give me an idea.
One has to get a feeling, at least, of what it should be in the performance. One cannot say, okay, we'll just work very coolly and then in the performance we'll turn on. It takes a lot of, how to say, a lot of experience of an orchestra and a lot of playing together to be able to do that. In other words, to turn on automatically in performance and perform instead of just rehearse in a very cool professional way. So every now and then in rehearsal it's good to turn on all the stops and see how well it goes.
Opening night at the Ohio. The cramped hallways and dressing rooms beneath the theater stage are abuzz with activity as nearly 100 musicians go through their final preparations.
Tonight is the night. Goodness gracious.
Some are veterans of many symphony seasons. Others are new to the orchestra. All share in the anticipation and excitement of a premiere performance. Badea has been through opening nights hundreds of times before. During the short walk from his dressing room to backstage, he draws on that experience.
It's pretty much a reflex because I've done this so many times since I was a kid. One doesn't have to deal with the factor of time, of rehearsal, and how everything is going to fit, and we will have time to finish rehearsing everything we wanted to correct and all that. So also there are no technical things to worry about because we took care of it in the rehearsal. So I think it's a better attitude to relax a little bit and just enjoy performing and try to concentrate on just the music making and forget about the rest. Maestro, good luck to you. Basically, it just has to do with concentrating on that very important thing, which is the first note.
Badea comes to Columbus from the Savannah Symphony Orchestra. It was his first music director position and a great learning experience.
Savannah was interesting because while people were very enthusiastic and very much willing to make music, the orchestra existed at a very, how to say, not very good level. I had to make it. In other words, I have to build the orchestra practically from scratch. And that is a job which is very difficult. One can be a very good guest conductor with an orchestra that is already established and already good and already formed. The job of building an orchestra is a totally different one, and it's very difficult. And I was very happy to have that kind of experience. And I think the orchestra right now sounds tremendously well. I was in music since I can remember. I started very, very young, and I played violin, and I conducted some. And then I did not conduct for a long time. I started to conduct when I was 10, conducted a chorus for 2 years, and then after that I gave up conducting for about 8 or 9 years, and then I started again much more seriously this time. In the meantime, I was a violinist, and I played many concerts. I played chamber music. I studied in Romania. I studied in Brussels, in Salzburg, and finally in Juilliard. And that's how I arrived in the United States. And I had to make at some point the choice between performing on the violin and being a conductor. And I'm very happy I made the choice toward conducting. I felt limited in the violin repertoire. I wanted to conduct, I wanted to be involved in different kind of music. I wanted to conduct opera, I wanted to be involved in theater. I wanted to be involved in the major symphonies. And even if you play in the orchestra, a Mahler symphony or Strauss or whatever, it's still limited. In other words, you play just one part. I wanted to be involved with the whole thing. You get up on the box and you do it. If you can't do it, you'll become a conductor. If you can't do it, you will never become a conductor. You might learn how to conduct, but you will not be really a conductor. So what this says is the fact that you have the talent as a conductor, and then you learn the ropes, you learn the technique, and you learn the repertoire, and you are a conductor. If you just learn the trade without having the talent, without having what it takes to be a conductor, which is a special combination of things, you will be a proficient one, maybe a competent one, but never a really great conductor. I've seen many, many excellent musicians who know a lot about music, very knowledgeable, very experienced, to go up on that box, which is only 2 feet tall, and forget their name and forget what's left, what's right. They lose totally control, and even when they gain some control, they don't make the proper remarks. Their beat is terrible, and even when they learn how to beat, it does not convey the ideas that they have very deeply inside themselves. So it is this capacity, I think, of transmitting to the other musicians through the gestures, through what you do, through the way you work with them, this inner conviction of what you have inside, of the way the music you would like the music to sound. We play very much for ourselves. In other words, we enjoy music, and that is our reason of being there. But also we play for the audience, and the reaction of the audience is very important, because if the audience doesn't like the performance, chances are that they are right. I think the orchestra, as much as the other arts organizations, play a tremendous role, because many businessmen have told me that they had tremendous problems in the early years to move people from New York down here, and they don't have those problems anymore. Columbus is a growing city. It's a city that has a cultural life which is becoming more and more important. And the better, the more skilled, the better are the people that the economic life, I'm just not saying business, just the economic life of a certain state or city needs, the better they are, the more culture and the better culture they want. I think there is a lot of potential for commitment. I think some people are very committed to the orchestra. I think some businesses are very committed to the orchestra. But it was a rather big surprise to me to see from a material that was put out by the Columbus Council for Arts, the fact that only 9% of the budgets of the arts organization is funded by the corporate sponsorship. That is very little. And you have some very big corporations here, and they will profit, and they do profit tremendously from the arts.
Guest conducting has always been an important part of Christian Badea's professional life, and that will not change in Columbus.
I think the fact that I'm in London or in Amsterdam as music director of the Columbus Symphony carries the name of this orchestra into those major centers, and I think that somewhere it has repercussions on the audience here as well. If you will have a conductor who will be totally unknown to the outside world, it's not the same thing if you have a conductor who has an international career. I think it's better to have a conductor who is going places. If I would conduct just one orchestra, it would be like seeing just one facet of it. Orchestras in Europe, for example, are responding differently. They are making music differently. I don't say they are better or worse, it's just different. I will be very demanding. I will be asking a lot of you, and I will be asking a lot of this town, because I intend to give the best I have. And, you know, I hope it's all going to be very happy and very, you know, very, we'll work well together.